Hi, welcome to the GenAI Mastery course. The goal of this course is to take you from a beginner GenAI user to an expert GenAI user in 7 sessions. My name is Lucky from GenDucate, and I will be your trainer in this course. Let's dive in. So we're looking at semantic synthesis. Like it says, you're getting generative AI to connect the themes or the topics from different types of files or data set. So you have Excel spreadsheets, you have PowerPoint, you have Word, you have emails. So you have different data sets, different files, all scattered all over different places. But they're all for the same department or the same organization. And there are some certain themes that you're looking out for that you want generative AI to pull out from these files. If you were to do it yourself, it would take you maybe a month. It depends on how many files. If you have 100 files, you would know how long that would take. If you have 200 files, you know how long that would take. You need to know the process to work with the files. And once you know the process to work with the files, then it takes you maybe 30 minutes, 1 hour. You have the themes that you want. But what I've said might not be too clear until we do the activity. The activity makes it a lot clearer. We have another scenario here. We're focusing on feedback now because you need a theme or a topic from a contest, isn't it? So we're working with feedback contest. What theme are you looking for from the feedback? We're going to get to that. But then the feedback came from different regions and different files formats, CSV, Word document, interview notes, PowerPoint, all of that. And your theme here is the pain point. What are the pain points that keep reoccurring? And a problem here with looking for things within different data sets is that you have to be very good in English language to be able to gather themes from different documents because it wouldn't use the same terms or the same word. It wouldn't be said in the same way. It can be said in very different ways, but the theme remains. GenAI will pick that up quickly. You might not even think about it, you might even know. You might even have an excellent level of English language. In your mindset, you already have a limited structure of what that theme would be like. You're already looking for XYZ to be able to identify that this is the theme of what they are saying. This is the pain point. Whereas it might also be a pain point, but the way they've written it, you don't know, or you can't even do the thinking because you're working with a lot of documents. You can't even do the thinking of, okay, this is a pain point. Whereas with generative AI, it picks it up, even though it's said in such a different way that, insofar as you've given it the right prompt, it will pick it up. So this is very important. And this happens a lot where information is being missed out on. And that information would help give good insight. Like what we are doing here is the pain point. It's good to know the pain point because then it can be resolved. But if you don't know the pain point, or if you know some of the pain point, you might be wondering why are our services in this area, why are they not accepted as these other areas? Because they've said it, the customers, they've said it several times. You just didn't get it the way they've said it. And the way, for example, we have EU here and we have the US here. The way that people speak, the way they use language, it's different. And with the EU, it might be a German, that's been converted to English for you because you are probably in the US. So during that conversion process, something has been missed out there. But generative AI will pick that up. This is the thing. The pitfall, how not to do it, a simple prompt, summarize the feedback from these 3 files and tell me what people are complaining about. This is the problem, but it wouldn't do it properly. It would miss subtle information. It will just go to the obvious one. Whereas if you follow the expert process, the first step, you say to analyze the 3 files. So now in the beginner, you didn't say to analyze, you just say to look for XYZ. If you say analyze these 3 files, what you're saying is that even if it's something that's been said in a different way from what's been said in another file, but they are saying the same thing, but they're just saying it in a different way, take note of that. You're saying to analyze, you can use another term there if it's an evaluation or whatever you see. And then identify recurring themes. Yeah, this is very specific what you're asking for. You're saying to analyze first and then recurring themes. Even if the terminology is between documents, just doing that one step from the beginner approach, you've made a big difference. It would pick the differences in terminologies, even though people are saying about something similar. Then you move on. Having done that, group it. And then provide the evidence. Again, adversarial techniques here, trying to stop generative AI from hallucinating. If you're saying, if you ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini, you're saying, this is a pain point, I need an evidence from that because I want to check myself if you've interpreted it properly. Even though I can't check the whole thing, but once you've done it, I want to review it myself to be sure that, okay, what they're saying actually is a pain point. Identify any region with a unique concern that is not shared among others. It depends on how many documents you have to work with the tool to do that. And your responsible AI check. If there's personalized information, remove them. This example that we're using here is very specific. Your job is to take this specific example and contextualize it. I'll give you some general information. The keyword. Do you want GenAI to analyze the information first or to evaluate the information? Or to compare? So you have to give it this keyword and then how you want it to work with the document, with the evidence and all of that. Because you're working with a lot of documents, you need to be sure that this is correct. And what I've done in the past, what I do all the time, with the evidence, when it gives me the evidence, I just copy. I normally say with quotes, which is what's written here. So you just copy the code as well, you check, and then you can find the right document where it came out from. It's giving you the source anyways. So you just open that document, Control F, boof, and it's there. By the time you do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you find that it's always there. Then you can trust generative AI. Let's practice this. I already uploaded the different files. I'm using 3 or so here, like we did in the first activity. I'm going to run the first prompt and then we'll look at the differences. You can see the 3 files there. It says to summarize the feedback from these files and tell me what was complaining about. I'll just run the first one, the basic one, the how not to do it, the beginner approach. It says to summarize the feedback from these 3 files and tell me what we are complaining about. Whereas the second one, the prompt is already created here. I will just copy it and put it. But something to be mindful of here, the extent of specificity here. Even though it's a small prompt, first of all, the ones that are in bold, it's being specific. There's more, I've just made this because they are clearer. First of all, you say to analyze, you're asking for something very specific, and then you say to identify, and then you say to group, you say to include. The more specific you are, the better when you're working with this sort of scenario. I'll run that while this is running. I'll go to the next one. So here, it gives you usable information, but sometimes it's general. This one, you might not be able to sort of get inside out of it because you probably know already, because you can compare your price to the customers or to the store. Again, general information that you already know. Growth tags, you already know that. So the first part didn't say much because it's saying the things that you know already. And then navigation on the website and user interface and all of that. Again, sort of sounds generic, isn't it? The first one is mostly generic stuff that you probably know if you know your organization. Whereas here, first of all, it goes specific. Now it's saying the same things, but how is this different from the next one? If you look here, all that information is added there. If you come to this one here, this is the advantage here. So it's followed the same step. It's gone through the step because you don't need all of that. You probably know that already. You don't need all of that. But you want to see how people are talking about it in the different files and the source. So there's a description. So you get a theme, you get a description, you get the evidence, and so on. Where? And then the different issues that were mentioned and that were not mentioned. Because everything is broken down. And it even gives that further. And you can see the clear difference between when it's giving you general information that you already know that you can make use of, and when it gives you similar information, but this time you can make use of it. In specific description here. for the price pressure and fatigue that it mentioned. Whereas here, you don't have that because you haven't prompted it. So you basically, again, as usual, you got generic information that you can't make use of. Whereas when you prompted it properly, you got specific information that you can create insight out of. That's a big difference here. But thank you very much for staying to the end of this session, and I'll see you in the next session. Have a good day. Thank you.